All right, welcome to Zenful Conversations. My name is Zenjen Brown, and today I have the wonderful opportunity to have a conversation with a friend, Miss Linda M. Miss
Hello.
Linda M. Thank you so much, Linda, for coming on and jumping on. And honestly, these are unscripted and unedited, and it causes a little uneasiness, including with me too, because I have no idea where the conversation is going to go. So
Yes, well,
welcome.
I'm already uneasy about it, but that's okay. I'm willing to see what comes up and what we talk about. But first and foremost, I just want to thank you for all you do because you really have made a difference in my life. So, and I'm just one, but I think that what you do is probably making a difference for a lot of people. And maybe not all of them have the opportunity to say it to you, or maybe they don't have the courage to say it or whatever. People don't always say what they need to say to people, but that's one thing I've been working on in my own personal life. If someone says something to me and it's meaningful, maybe a few weeks, a month, a year, I might reach out and say, you know what, that really helped me, whatever it is. And I think it's important for people to do that because we're in it together and we're here to help each other.
Yeah, and I don't think we realize the impact we have on others either. I don't think we realize, like you, for instance. One, thank you so much for saying that because I'm not looking to receive that, and you guys help me just as much as I help you. But it is so good to know
Yeah.
that my efforts are doing something. But you, yeah, I mean, I follow you on, not that I really am spending that much time on social media, but I see you doing all kinds of things.
Mhm.
And you really seem to me and my analyzing here, um, really enjoy life to the fullest. I mean, I see you doing a lot of things, going a lot of places. I've seen you in workshops, even your participation level in the workshops and everything is right on 100%. And if there's some kind of movement thing, you just go for it. And you're like, oh, I got this. I used to be a jazzercise instructor. Check this out. You know,
Well,
so but I think you doing that
mhm,
impacts other people
mhm.
in them living their best life too.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I feel like we all are, we have energy and we're impacting one another constantly. And I do make a pretty deliberate attempt to be the positive force rather than the negative force. I can't say I've always been that way. I mean, I'm, older. I'm, in my seventh generation. How do you say it? Seventh decade. So yeah, I'm in my 70s. And from there, you learn things and you look back at the person you were and the person you've become, and they certainly are different. But then again, there's a lot about me that's been the same forever, and I don't think it's going to change. Um, and one of the things that I know about myself is my intention has always been, and I can remember it coming out of my mouth when I was asked, "What do you want to do?" And I would say, "I don't know, but I want to help people." Now that's when I was a kid. So, that means something. I also wanted to be a dancer, but that's another story. I guess jazzercise fulfilled that to a certain degree because it is dancing, and I was the instructor. It wasn't on the stage doing you know, ballet or whatever. It wasn't anything like that. But I taught them how to plie and releve, and I guess that counts. And that's how you look at things for me once you get older. The things that you've done, even though they may not be what you thought you wanted to do or what you said you were going to do, somehow those all still come out in forms and ways that are meaningful. Because, in my opinion, I don't want to look back at my life and say, I wish I'd done this, I wish I'd done that. So I do have those issues. I do have a few I wish I should have did, but I'm not gone yet either. So
Yeah, well, I'm just 61 now, so I'm in my sixth, entering my sixth decade, and I just think it's just now starting to get good.
It
You
does.
know,
You're
this
right.
is
Yeah.
really good, but it is scarier though because, time is ever so present on my mind now. How much time do we have left and
hmm
all that?
Well, as a matter of fact, we're here to talk about writing. I read a poem about time, and it was funny because my poems are not necessarily something that a literary person would say, "Oh, that's a great poem." It's more of a lyric, it's more of a rhyme or something of that nature. So I read it at one of the small group breakouts when we were doing that in the poetry workshops. And unfortunately, our time got cut off before I could get anyone's reaction to it. And and I had to do a disclaimer. I said, because my poem about time does not use all good language. It's got, in fact, the title is bad language right out of the box. And I have a group of poems that I call my whimsical poems, and they're all like that. They're pretty. I don't know. They're kind of in your face. You could use them in a comedy act, probably. But I've never had on my desire to be a comedian. I mean, like on a stage, stand up, that kind of stuff. No. But yeah, I do write things that are kind of comical sometimes, and it just comes out. It's just whatever I'm thinking about at that moment.
Do you want to share that poem or?
Yeah, I'll share it. But before we even do that, I kind of want to talk to you about, because I've been participating in the poetry workshops, and I've been not necessarily quiet, but I've been taking it in and starting to realize that especially the ones who are published poets who have followings and are writing all these beautiful, words, that for me, my poetry is much less put together. I guess it's like, somebody watching someone do something. You say, well, I'm going to try to do it. And then you do it, but it's not very good. But you like it. And that's really what matters, right? And so I, it brought me to reflect on, and I've already know this, but just the importance of my journey in this process, that I've kind of thanked you for several times, because my writing skills were they were denied me when I was very young, and so it came to be that I entered this whole area of writing poetry quietly, and it was just between me and myself. And so when I did that, um, I was quite shy about sharing poems. I mean, very shy. Uh, but occasionally, if it felt safe, or if it were in a venue that seemed appropriate, I might offer a poem. And I think that's really how we kind of first connected, because I think I did share a poem during one of your workshops, which was a huge deal for me. People in the group maybe didn't know or didn't see that, or maybe they did. I think some did. But regardless, I don't feel I'm alone in that. You
It
know.
was powerful. Is that the one we were in the gazebo there, a little
Mm-hmm.
meditation gazebo? I
Yes.
remember that was so powerful. For everybody, the impact of your words there, that you could see it. You
Yeah.
could see that
Mm-hmm.
everybody felt it there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. And so, that was probably a door that opened for me at that moment that I'm still walking through. I'm not really nearly there, but once again, having the opportunity to do the small group work with you is a continuation of that door opening. Because when I was younger, I was a poet, and I was very, very adept at words, and I still am. But I guess, I mean, I'm putting this all together now. But I think what happened is I ended up having a fear of writing my words down, because you can listen to me and say, well, she's pretty fluent. She could probably tell a good story, right? Or she could probably write something that would be, nice to read. But I became so traumatized about my writing that I just made a pact with myself around 10 years old that I was never going to write another word unless I had to. And that would be obviously you got to get through school, you've got to write your papers, and you got to get through college, and you've got to write your term papers. One of the things that bonded my husband is he's a very analytical and good writer. He wrote my term papers a lot of times, and if he didn't write them, oops, don't tell Ohio State that. And if he didn't actually sit down and just say, okay, what do you want to say? And just type it out, um, he edited it to death. And so it was
Right.
able to get a decent enough grade, not an A, maybe a C.
Yeah. That's funny. It reminds me because when I was going to college, my ex-husband at the time, he was a writer too, and he helped me. He helped
Yeah,
me uh, touch it up to where it was presentable.
exactly. Because I had such a barrier and a fear of, grammar, spelling,
Well,
punctuation, all the tools we have now. Oh my gosh. I mean, that would not, I don't know. I think it still would have been a problem because I still had my issue, which was what happened. And I'm going to talk about that, soon. But in the meantime, now it's opened another area of freedom. You have spell check. You have ways that you can, it'll tell you to punctuate, oh, put a comma here.
mhm,
Because I was fixated on that stuff, just
yeah,
fixated. And I feel like it's a barrier to creativity if you're fixated on it. Yeah, if you know how to do it and it's easy peasy, it's not. But if you feel like you don't, or if you just have this voice in your head saying, oh, that's not good enough, or that's wrong, or that's actually really bad, you feel like, oh my gosh, I'm not going to try because you don't want to have to deal with that.
yeah. Quite frankly, I'm a little shocked of how buried my voice is.
Hmm.
I'm a little bit shocked that it hasn't, or she hasn't quite felt ready to make her grand
Yeah.
entrance. But I just know how valuable this space is because of the therapy program, because of Ginny,
Yeah.
with
Yeah.
the Heartwood training and all of that, and with her and the philosophy and with her and the way she has such a passion with writing. She's
Yes.
like, you know,
Hmm.
it's such an important factor. And in the therapy program, that's what got me. There's a few things, the healing modalities, whether it's for cancer recovery,
Hmm.
for heart troubles recovery, for
Hmm.
anxiety, whatever. One
Hmm.
of the main things was to write. You need to write, and you need to sort through
Hmm.
what you're feeling. And so I'm just on my own healing journey.
Yeah. Well, let me ask you, Jen, do you journal?
um, you know, I'm trying to find my place is why well, because of the politics of the world and everything right now,
Hmm.
I needed more from myself of my practice.
Yeah. But I just
And
mean, do
I
you take out a
don't
notebook and
quite
write stuff
handily.
down?
Yeah, I do. I write a lot. I write a lot. And I write the yoga nidra journeys that I do every week. I mean, there's
Oh,
a lot I do, but um
that's excellent.
and then but that's why I want to do these. That's why I'm really falling in love with this writing whatever comes to your mind and exploring it. But what I haven't done is take what I've explored and been shocked the heck of what has come out. I haven't
Yeah.
I haven't gone back to that and form a relationship to even give it a shot of making something to it. But I don't want to force myself, for God's sakes.
Right,
I'm
right.
just,
Well,
you know, I want to enjoy this courting apparently that I've got going on with the whole relationship of writing, you know?
I
So
think I can totally follow what you're saying. And the editing and reviewing what you've written is the hardest part. Well, maybe it's not the hardest part. The hardest part is if somebody either doesn't get it or takes offense to it, or
mm,
feels something that is less than good job or attaboy. And see, I have a big fear of that kind of stuff. And a really person who's going to take it out a step further has to have that armor on, I guess, to receive that. It's not like it's going to always happen, but you have to have that ability to say, well, if I bring a poem forward and or even a writing forward and someone says, well, I don't get that, why are you writing that, that makes no sense, um, or whatever they come back with, if it's not what affirms it, then you feel unaffirmed and you feel bad. I mean, at least I do. And I imagine some poets and writers obviously have to get past that. I mean, people write
I think,
articles for journals and people write all kinds of stuff and they get rejected. You send it into the
yeah,
magazine and they say no. And then I hear them say, well, I sent it 15 times. And the 16th time somebody said, cool, we love it. I'm reading a book right
yeah.
now. I don't think I brought the
I
book
think
in.
there's a difference between writing and sharing.
Mhm.
And from what I hear and understanding is from the conversations that I've been having and etc. here, uh, there's a distance when you put it down on paper. There's a distance that's created, and tell me you're going to try to make the conversation and the workshop with Maya Stein, because I took a revision course with her once,
Mhm.
not too long ago. All this is fairly new, and it was to me very fascinating. She is like the queen of revision. She's got such an art to it.
Mm.
It's quite lovely. So I think that's a great. That's really one of the reasons I asked her. I think it's a great addition to this little series we're doing.
Mhm.
Um,
Yes.
you know,
Yes. So, I'm not familiar with Maya Stein, but I will definitely look her up as soon as I get off this call or this
yeah. Well, as
little
long as
interview.
you come, just make sure you come to the conversation and or the workshop,
Oh, is
because
she coming up in the future?
yeah, she's going to be
Yeah,
cut. Well, September,
in September.
September.
Well, I make
Yeah,
everything that I can possibly get. If I'm not here, or if I'm not here when you have something, it's because I'm not available. It's,
able to.
you know what I mean?
I
So
do know
anyway,
that.
um, I guess I can explain to you what happened that caused me not to want to write, because I actually wrote about it. Uh, but it's kind of surprising to me because I just pulled it out just today, because I thought sometimes when I try to talk about it, it still brings up emotions, and that shows you that, obviously not completely resolved. But then when you and I already, and you're a yoga therapist, and I'm not a yoga therapist, but I am a therapist. I've worked as a counselor in high schools for 20 years, working with kids, and doing all kinds of various techniques and imposter syndrome and traumatization and alcoholic parents and COAs and all that. That's my background professionally.
Well, even just life experience, I swear, is worth more than you can put a price tag on it.
Right. But I think that, the thing about it is when you are the person who is on the counseling side of the table, you still somehow have a way to put your issues over here, and you can see it so clearly in other people, but you can't see yourself. And I've always felt like I would just love, love, love to have someone to give me pure feedback, and that kind of thing. And I've, gone through some coaching, and I feel like you, as a yoga therapist, have been a therapist for me. But, my issues are, kind of unique, but not unique. They're very common. I mean, I think a lot of people have them. So, with that being said, I am going to share with you what I wrote. This is like in 20, well, I think it was in 2013. I started a wellness company called Wellness Seekers. It was a company that did retreats, which we did, um, and just over the idea of wellness. I mean, we were kind of ahead of our time in that sense. And I say we, it was just really me. I hired people like a yoga instructor, I hired a reflexologist. I had a chef, a girl who cooked really well. I call her a chef. She made the best food. Um, And then we had other things in our agenda. We did jazzercise, of course, in the beginning. Then we had our um, yoga after lunch, I think, or maybe before lunch, I forget. And anyhow, it was a day retreat, but it went from 8 o'clock in the morning to 8 p.m. And I've been blessed. I had a woman who lived in the small town where we were from who had she owned a high rise, one of those old brownstone buildings that used to be like a Kresge's, but was no longer a Kresge's. It was just being renovated into apartment buildings and lofts for people. And she said, "Oh, I've got this whole space. It's already renovated. Just go ahead, have your retreats in here." And so we did. And my point is, I was also writing a manual along with it called Wellness Seekers, which is still in my computer, as all these other different wellness programs unfold. Now, mind you, I wrote this back in the early 2000s. In 2013 is the last time I edited it. It's been here for a while. So, anyway, Wellness Seeker is a guide for many. The lesson is twofold: be cautious not to crush another human person's spirit. Two, identify where the spirit has been injured because it can be repaired. Here's my story of spirit injury and healing. The haiku. I cannot say that writing is my passion. That writing frustrated me to the point that I could barely do it is a sad fact. This all began with a shy fifth grade girl and a nun who probably did not love her job or her life for that matter. The assignment was to write a haiku poem. Now, all good and well educated people, according to, I'll leave the sister's name out, know that a haiku is a Japanese form of poetry consisting of 3 lines, total of 17 syllables. The pattern is 5-7-5. There once was a man with only one hand. How did he look? I had writer's block of the worst sort, and the only word I could think of was jerk. It does rhyme. Please believe me, I tried to find another word. But by now it was time to turn in our haiku poems. So I quickly scribbled in the word jerk and passed my paper forward. The next day of school seemed just like all the others until lunch. And that's when we studied English. "Linda Calloway, come to my desk," said Sister in her normal drill sergeant tone. "What type of girl would write this trash? What possessed you to say such a hateful thing? I should call your parents. You should be ashamed of yourself." Although I really didn't know what she was talking about, I felt tears welling up in my eyes. "Those crocodile tears aren't going to help you today," she hissed. I glanced down, and on her desk, there is my haiku poem, all 3 lines and 17 syllables, with a huge red X through it. Her words hurt. I could feel the eyes of the class glaring at me like I just killed a cat or something worse. I returned to my seat, face burning with embarrassment and shame. I vowed I would never write a poem again. How could I write a poem or anything for that matter? I was such a bad person, I thought to myself. So my story begins. It's about the destruction and rebuilding of a little colored girl in the 1960s, living a life different than most colored girls of her generation. Privileged could be a word to describe it by some, but not by her. She was lonely, hurt, and scared at times, but strong. So I'll leave it at that. So
Mm,
that is, kind of the beginning of me, the poet.
mm-hmm,
And you can
mm-hmm,
see it was not good.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Well, I know that actually came up the other day in one of the workshops,
Hmm.
that experience. And um it's hard to believe how traumatizing things are, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, that's why, I based the guidelines on what I was doing, the wellness seekers, is not to crush our human spirit. And, we have to have constructive feedback to grow. But then, there are a lot of people that say a lot of mean things, especially nowadays when you look at people who are on the internet and exposing truths about themselves or trying to do whatever it is they want to do. I mean, you even hear about A-list entertainers having breakdowns because people can be cruel for whatever reason. But it takes a long time to realize that those people are cruel. It's not a reflection of what you offered them, it's a reflection on them as far as whatever terrible burden is within their soul. It's not your soul, it's theirs.
Yep, it's whatever spills out. That's how I know I'm full of love, baby.
Yes, yes. But, yeah, that's right. You are full of love. I'm just going to say yes.
um, well, isn't that interesting? So your intuition has been working on this for a long time.
Oh, I'm very, very lucky. I feel like I am, I'm a young soul, but I'm an old yogi. So I'm like a puppy dog, and that's why I call it wellness seekers. I'm interested. I'm curious. I'm into exploring. I don't mind listening, hearing, all that. I mean, I've always been that curious person who wants to know something or wants to try something. But I realized that that was a an injury, and I innately, yeah, right. I knew I had to just somehow break through, and I still haven't completely, but but I've been working on it, and it's always, and just like I said earlier, with the various occupations, I've done so many jobs, all really well, but I never seem satisfied to sit back and be the expert. I'm just like, okay, now I've conquered that one. Let's do something else, you know.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
I look at young people who are out there, and they're doing their little thing, and they've been doing it for 20 years, and I think, that's a drop in your bucket. I'm sorry. You're going to do some other things unless you're maybe not. And if you don't, that's kind of sad, because there's so many things to do.
Yeah, I've been a lot of things myself. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it is kind of neat to be a little bit older and have the opportunity to reflect back, you know.
Mm-hmm.
It's
For
kind of
sure.
neat.
For sure.
Yeah. And it's also kind of neat to see some things like something from my 20s I can actually use with this part now.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
like very cool
Yeah.
because I was in a three-piece acoustic band when back in the
Uh-huh.
day with my ex-husband there. I was a percussionist and backup singer. So but the
Yeah.
percussionist now is so perfect with the sound bowls and all of that.
True. Oh my gosh. Yes.
I'm like, this is a pretty neat, just flowed right into it, you know?
Yeah.
I like your writing, Linda. I like your writing a lot, and I've been blessed, privileged to hear some even some different things besides poetry. Um, so I really like your writing, and I hope I like what you've got to say as well.
Yeah.
I hope the message gets out because it's an important message. Um,
Mm-hmm. I agree.
so much love and good energy on all of that work that you're doing, your very important work you're doing for the world.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah,
I try. Not deliberately. I mean, it's more the way I live. I mean, I just,
yeah. It's true. It
mhm,
is part of the way you live because
mhm.
again, I've actually been able to be with you in person and you are very uplifting to everybody that I can see. Now I'm sure your husband probably disagreed from time to time.
No, I'm good with him
But
too. We've been married 15 years, September 6th. And I mean, I feel like I've been a good influence on him, and he's been an excellent support system for me. We've got a not a perfect marriage. We've had a lot of things that would be better, but not really. I can't imagine being married to anyone else. So, and
Mhm.
yin and yang. He's quiet. I'm
Yeah.
talky. He's very cerebral. I'm not. I do things before I think. That hoof and
Mhm.
foot and mouth disease and shit.
Well, I think
I'm
it's
big G, little
I
O. He calls me that because I go. If you say, "Hey, Linda, you want?" I'm like, "Yeah."
I
And
I think
Bob, if
that
I
we
say to him,
because we
hey,
go with the intuition, we don't let our brain talk us out of it,
no,
that's
I'm
all.
like, and that's why when I was talking to you about this being so unscripted, I'm thinking, okay, I'm a little worried.
Yeah, well, I'm always worried too, but that's what I really like about it is that it's unscripted, it's unedited, it's raw, and it's real, and I just want to, I'm just enjoying some good old authentic conversation,
Yeah, I think it's
you
awesome.
know?
Yeah.
I really am. So what when you thought you were when you said yes to coming on to the show, and thank you so much for saying yes, but what made you say yes? What is it you thought maybe you want to say, or what is the message you would had in your mind?
Well, I didn't have a message in my mind. I'll be quite frank with you. When you asked me, I felt completely nervous about it. And I think if you remember, you asked me, and I said, I got to sleep on this one because
That's
my
right, you did.
gut said no. And I slept on it. I thought about it and I thought, well, it's going to be a challenge because I do a lot of things and I'm able to speak in public quite easily. I've been a public speaker, I've had a job as that, which my job was to go in front of these people and talk about whatever the topic was. I mean, obviously I knew the topic, but my point is that's not the problem. The problem is when I have to be talking about myself authentically. That's why I read what I read rather than trying to explain it because I just, it's still something that I think I could get lost in and then not be able to be fluent after I talked about it. But I do think that it needed to be said because I feel like I'm not the only one. I mean, I know I'm not the only one who's gone through these kind of things in their educational process that's taken something from them. And that, and it may take your entire life to get it back, but don't quit trying. I mean, I guess if that's anything, but I don't know if that's what I intended to talk about because you said we're going to see what it comes out. And here we are. But that's what came out. So that's a good thing. Um, yeah,
Well, what I like about that writing was that one, I definitely understood it. Um, but I also think it doesn't have to be school. It could be applied to well, I don't think a lot of adults, period, understand how much, or even it doesn't even have to be when you're young. Let me finish my sentence. My mind always says that I start something and then I'm like jumping ahead of myself all the way through the conversation here. I don't think the teachers or any adults realize the effect they have on children.
hmm
But I think in how traumatizing these so little minor things are. Um, but I also think not even just children. I just don't think we realize the trauma that's involved with so much of this. Even receiving a friend of mine has bad news. Sometimes it's traumatic, and I don't know what I'm trying to say about this, but maybe that's where writing comes in to help us not get caught up in the trauma of these things, you know?
I'd agree. Yeah. Or to at least have a place to put it before you send it out beyond yourself, because every single thing you write is between you and the paper until you send it off or read it to someone or whatever it is. So it is a great
Yeah,
way to formulate what you are feeling, I think. And especially if you're a person like myself who, as sister pointed out, easy with the crocodile tears. I cry at every juncture. I am
I
a very
know.
tearful
I
person.
think I'm
I,
getting better at that, but yeah,
yeah,
my feelings get hurt
yeah,
quick.
me too. But I mean, I kind of came to understand that's just part of me, you know, and that's why we meant talking about my husband. I mean, he knows that. I mean, I can't change his mind if I cry. He just knows I'm crying. He's like, "Oh, honey."
We're sensitive. We're
Yeah,
sensitive, and
that's
you
true.
probably have been told you're too sensitive in your life.
Oh,
And
yeah.
but let me just say, and I have too, or even too kind sometimes, you're too nice to people or
Mhm.
whatever. But I gotta say, I think that's what this group of writers and poets are. They are sensitive people that
Yes.
give more than the average bear. And
Mhm.
so it doesn't make us wrong. To me, it makes us so thankful that, okay, I can recognize this is the community of people to hang around because I'm not
Yeah,
the only one. I'm not the only
yeah.
one.
You're building a little circle of safety for
Well,
people.
yeah, well, I'm thinking this is important. You know, this is important, this community of like-minded people.
Yes, it is. And as you kind of alluded to, and now more than ever, yes, now
Yeah.
more than ever. Um, but I think you probably were always an empathetic person, and always a kind person. And now, that you have the opportunity to bring it forth and do something with it, I think it's wonderful. I think it's just very brave on your part. I
I feel
do,
like
and
it's pretty
courageous. I
brave.
do,
I
I
think
swear.
it is. I
I
gotta say
think,
it is.
yeah. It is.
It is
I mean,
brave.
we're here in our little, we're the Jen Linda, like, Adam, you go, girl. But yeah, I appreciate that. I really do. And I know for myself, I've been empathetic and an empath forever. I mean, I can remember, and it, you can, if you think about your life, in myself case, I can see how I got the way I am. I mean, my mom was a very strong woman, but then I was the one who was sort of back there going, "Are you okay, mom?" and I mean, and that was just our little role, and it was a dysfunctional family with alcoholism, and so you have your person who's causing the problem, the alcoholic or the dysfunctional person. You have the person who's the enabler. Of course, I used to teach this because I was in the alcohol and drug profession for years, and then you have that child who's the hero, and that was me, right?
Mhm.
And through that, but even before that, when I was like 4 years old, one of my first words was, "Are you gusted?" I was trying to say disgusted. "Mommy, are you gusted?" And it was so funny, but I remember they said, "I remember when Linda Sue used to come up and ask you if you were gusted." And I'm like, yeah, I was noticing if my mom was disgusted. She wasn't disgusted with me, she was disgusted with my dad, I'm sure. But still, just to know that you are a person who has really spent a lot of time delving into other people's feelings, trying to kind of see beyond that. And it becomes a
Mm.
part of who you are. And that's okay. But then it can also be something that can suck you away from who you are, you. And for some reason, I saw that. And I didn't see that right away. I saw
I
that,
didn't see it
yeah.
either. Yeah.
Yeah, I saw that somewhere in my 50s. And that's when I sort of started writing the poetry, writing my thoughts, doing all the things I needed to do. Because before that, I was really very focused on my mother, who, of course, along, in which I love, and I had such a great relationship with her. And then my kids,
Mhm.
so it was all
Mhm.
good. But there are like seasons in life. I mean, I think that's the appropriate season for a 40-year-old or even a young 15-year-old. But once your kids are gone, they call it empty nest syndrome, but I didn't feel like it was a syndrome. I felt like it was
Yeah.
like a yay.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. Then the truth is too, out of all the training they had available at Heartwood Yoga Institute, I took everything they had to offer except for the children's yoga.
Yeah, nah,
Because I feel like I did my
did your
part
due
with
diligence in that area, yes. And I love my
that.
grandkids, don't get me wrong, but and I love my children, but they're such strong adults. I'm just so proud. And one of the reasons is I kind of taught them, I not kind of, I did, and they can attest to the fact that I would say to them, let your feelings out. And they were allowed to do that. And hopefully they're still around letting their feelings out in good ways. I don't mean go breaking things and yelling at people, but if something is bothering you, don't sit there and fester, tell the person.
Oh no, yeah, that's wish I honestly that's a very important point there, because you and I both know that, well, and I'm sure many people listening to this conversation know that that energy doesn't go away.
No.
It gets stored in the body. So, and that's part of this whole writing in my mind. You guys
Hmm.
feel like you've got to write.
Yeah, you might have to, right? I feel like sometimes people have different tools to let their feelings out. I mean, journaling is just one, dialoguing is another way, but there are other ways, but you can't just hold it in, and I'm a firm believer in active listening and it's not confrontational, but telling somebody through I statements and that back and forth, which of course is another therapy type model where I tell you how I am feeling while you be quiet and listen. And then you can tell me what you heard. You know what I mean? And that's
Mm,
very therapeutic. I mean, especially with some of these people who have all these problems with their, siblings or their people that they want to be close to, but they can't get past it, you know. And but that's a technique and that's cool, but it doesn't work on yourself usually. You will give that to other people as a technique when they're coming to you. And so for me, I don't know, that's where it's confusing. I haven't figured all that out yet, how that works.
the yoga training, the teacher, the philosophy will
Hmm.
be uh, beneficial to that, I think.
Hmm. Yeah.
And the koshas when they talk about the
Yeah,
koshas.
yeah, I'm so excited. I mean, I'm so excited, and I'm just looking forward to learning, trying to allow myself to be open, because when you're, in a room where you're, pretty much twice the age of the most of the people, um, it's easy to be that person who's like kind of and I don't want to be that, a know-it-all or a wise sage type individual. Although there's nothing wrong with people having wisdom and sharing it, but it has to be a give and take, and it has to be something that is done with open heart, open mind, and all the things I'm going to
Mhm.
learn. So I'm very excited. I really am. And the people in our
Yeah.
group are very nice people. My only thing with my yoga training, starting at this late point, you know, not that my body isn't in great shape. I'm in very good shape for my age. I mean, very good shape. But it's still going to be a huge challenge, a much huger challenge had I decided to do this in my even 60s,
Oh yeah.
much less
Yeah, well, I
70s.
didn't do mine till in my 50s. I didn't do it till my 50s. And that was exactly true. That's why I did the training for the 50 plus,
Yeah,
because
I
I wasn't
know.
about to. Because
Yeah.
still to me, it's not about the poses to me.
No, but when you're learning them, it's you're in the
Well,
group
you
and you
got
have
to know the
yeah.
poses. You got to know the poses.
Yeah,
But
you got to
yeah,
know them and I think I mean I
there's
would
a
be
lot to learn.
yeah,
There's a
and I
lot
would
to
be
learn.
remiss if I said to our, leader or our guru or whatever we want to call her. And I don't know if she wants me to even mention her name, but anyway, you know, that I can't do that or I don't want to do that. It hurts my knee so bad. So at the end of the first day, 2 days, it's a 2 day thing, the first week, and we circled up to give our words, how we felt. And I said tired, and I looked up and I was like, I hope she doesn't get mad at me. But it's the truth. I was tired.
Oh my God, it's exhausting.
Yeah. And
It's
and
exhausting.
I took today off completely from all physical activity. Well, I think I will practice a few little things, maybe the uh never mind. I was going to try to say downward dog in Sanskrit, but I won't because I'm not ready. I'm just not ready.
Yeah, well, not everybody even can relate to it. So I find that I don't use the Sanskrit terms that much
Yeah.
because I want everybody to, and I want people to think whatever I offer is easy enough for
Yeah.
everybody to do.
Yeah. Yeah, make it accessible to everyone. I totally agree. But when you're in training, you got to learn.
Oh yeah, exactly, exactly. But
And that's
I'm
where I'm
not for
at now.
everybody, for
So,
sure.
yeah.
I'm not for everybody,
Yeah.
so there's somebody for everybody, and that's what's great about it all.
Yeah.
So you write, don't if I'm putting words that are in your mouth not accurate, say so. You write because you really have a mission to get something out into this world.
Mm, maybe I could say now I have a mission to get something out into this world. But originally, when I first actually opened up to the idea of writing, and as I said, I wasn't until my 50s probably. Um, it was just like I was living in California and I was just so happy, you know, um, and things would just tumble over my head like words and ideas and thoughts. And so I thought, I'm going to write this stuff down. And so I started doing that. And I ended up writing a ton of little, they're not even, poems like the poems that the people recite in our groups generally. They're really more lyrical, they're more about me, and I will share a few of them with you. Um, and they come into my head like a drop of knowledge. So I don't write like that where I am trying to express something and I sit there and I think over it and I write a few lines and I go back to it and I add a few colorful words. It's nothing like that. They come into my head fully formed, pretty much. And I think it comes from my background with my mom being a person who read to me so much. She read to me um, just like the fairy tales out of a big book of what is it called? Grimm's fairy tales. Grimm's, they were just stories. And I can still recite that stuff. I can just like pop off with the Owl and the Pussycat or whatever, like Owl and the Pussycat went to sea in a beautiful pea green boat, took some honey and plenty of money wrapped in a 5-pound note. The owl looked up at the stars above and sang to a small guitar. Oh, lovely pussy, oh, pussy, my love, what a beautiful puss you are, you are. What a beautiful puss you are. And I can continue. I think there's 7 verses. So
Wow.
my poetry is like that. It's lyrical, it's whimsical usually. It's kind of just and it comes to me in my head and then I just write it down. And so it was hard for me um, to do this writing prompt stuff, because it was just like, well, wait, I'm not thinking about any of that.
Yeah, well, you do know you could write anything.
I know,
It
but
what
I mean,
you
when
could
I'm
whatever
listening to the
to
other
me, whatever
poets,
explores in my head. Yeah,
hmm
well, some people are very good at it. And
yeah,
some
and they're
people
very good
want
at
to
it, and
be
they're
good at
very,
it.
I guess I don't want to say professional. That's kind of value laden, but they're astute at poetry. They understand what poetry is in a academic way, in a
Mhm.
way. I know
Mhm.
none of that. I mean, you saw I failed haiku one, right? And I've
Well,
continued to fail haiku 2 and 3. So I
yeah, I'm
put
not sure I
together.
even want to know all these rules.
Well, I mean,
You know what I mean?
that's how the
I'm
literary
not sure.
literary world is, in my opinion. I mean, maybe it's not anymore, but I think it really is. I mean, if you go and
Mhm.
take um, whatever entry class in a college, and they're going to listen to a poem
Mhm.
I've written and said, "Oh my God, that's not a poem. That's a rap song."
Uh-huh.
But
Uh-huh.
in my opinion, rap is poetry. Not that the things they're writing about is poetry, or some rap is like disgusting and bad and vile. But then some of it is lyrical and it's poetry or musical lyrics, the same thing. I mean, it's not for everyone, but it's for someone.
Mhm. Mhm.
So I'm going to
Mhm.
share one of my poems for you, and it's called Ego Driven Life. It's very short. God free me from my ego driven life. Open my eyes to compassion, forgiveness, and charity. Help me learn to love unconditionally, to give myself permission to be myself with no need to compare or compromise. I will approach each day with gratitude of others, of earth, and the gift of worldly possessions and of self, while knowing it's all a gift, not to be kept or coveted. Detach me from fear, worry, or excitement about outcomes. Allow me to live in the moment, to be enough, to have enough, no matter the circumstances, to be at peace at every juncture of my life. This is my prayer. God, free me from my ego driven life. So,
Mm,
and that pops into my
mm.
head someday, and I wrote it down.
So you're going about your business and something pops in your head and you write it down. Is that your
Usually,
practice?
no, I'm usually either I'm waking up in the morning and taking a breath of such cool, beautiful eucalyptus scented air in my little room in California. And it just comes over me. Or I'm walking in the hills and it just comes over me. I mean, I had a true, and I shared that poem, I think, a love affair with LA. I mean, a love affair with
Yeah.
that place. And that I think that's unique to me. I don't think everybody falls in love inside in
Oh,
a
I like how you
place.
put that.
Yeah. Well, I have a
They
poem
fall
about
in
it. You
love
want
with
here?
that.
Here it goes.
Yeah, I
No.
sure do. Go ahead if you want to. Go ahead, babe.
Hold on. I mean I have to find that's in a whole different section of my poems. But yeah, the point is I have it's in my whimsical poems.
So you have other writings too besides poetry.
I have my memoir I'm writing. I started one time a long time ago a fiction story called El Pescador Canyon, which is about a canyon in LA, Malibu. And it's just a fiction story about somebody who lived there. But anyhow, let me see. Here it is.
So are those, but do you classify these as two separate writing practices? Your poetry and your memoir?
Definitely. I wasn't even writing a memoir until I entered Jenny's um, workshop because I was writing and I was writing I guess a memoir of sorts about yoga. About I mean it wasn't even going to be about yoga. It was about how to find the correct yoga instructor. So in other words, because I've been doing yoga for so long, I started doing yoga probably right at the beginning of the 90s, early 90s, late 1980s, whatever. And I was very blessed because my practice was just a fluke. I was on a vacation and I decided to go to the spa. They were offering a yoga. The spa was part of the hotel, and I was a jazzercise instructor, and I was just kind of obsessed. I don't want to miss a day of exercise. So I decided, well, I'm going to go to this yoga class, and I go to this yoga class, and of course, it was before I knew a single thing, and I don't even know if they separated yoga disciplines into restorative and yin and whatever the other hatha type categories or flow. I don't know. I just went to this woman's yoga class. I don't know her name. I should. And I pray, I wish I did, because I would write her a thank you note. And this class just shifted me in such a profound way. It was like I think an hour and a half class, maybe an hour and 15. And I came out of that class and you couldn't have told me that it was an hour and 15. I mean, I felt like 4 hours had passed. I lost track of time and space. But that's where I'm blessed because not everybody has that happen. And so after that, it's kind of like the law of diminishing returns, which, by the way, is the reason why people drink a lot and use drugs. But anyway, we'll talk about that theory later. Um, the act of diminishing returns, I never found that again. So I was in search of it. I was a seeker. Well, back in those days where I was from in Ohio, there weren't even any I shouldn't say any, there were few and far between yoga studios, and there were very few yoga instructors. So I'm in a coffee shop probably a year later, and I look on the board, it's a community bulletin board, and here's a card for this guy named Thatcher Ross. And I'll say his name because if I could find Thatcher, I mean, that would just mean so much to me. And he had written down a thing where he was doing a yoga class for beginners, and it was going to be at this community house. And so, it was a Sunday night. I went. And from there, I was in his class for probably the next 8 or 9 years, and I learned a lot. He was extremely grounded. He'd been doing yoga since he was a child. I don't know if he was from India or where he was from. He kind of looked like your head wrap, beard. I mean, I wasn't even concerned about who, where, what it was from, but I imagine he probably was in some respect from there. And he had deep knowledge, deep knowledge. So I was under his guidance. I mean, I never thought of it as that at the moment. I was just going every Sunday night and taking class with Thatcher, and so my yoga practice just kind of flourished. And I started even back then writing about it because there were so many things going on in my life. My mother was, basically terminally ill, and years drug on, and she finally passed. And I was in that sandwich generation, 3 kids and a sick, a parent. And then my husband, of course, he was off, providing income and working, and he traveled, which was fine with me because I thought, you know what, I can't handle one more person. The fact that you're not here for dinner is good because guess what, we're having spaghettios.
Yeah, for sure. I
So
hear you.
anyway, yeah, I don't know how I got off on that tangent, but um,
Well, you were saying the importance of the you were writing about the
oh, and
importance
I
of
was
your
writing
yoga
about
stuff.
it. Yes, yes, yes. And so I have cataloged, and not in like a catalog, but storytelling. I write about Thatcher. I write about another lady named Helene, and she was just the precise, she knew how to do the postures, and she was able to. This is before there were any rules. So if you were doing it wrong, she'd just come up and say, lift your shoulders, bend your back, look and fix
Yeah, I
you,
know,
right?
right?
And
Sure.
it's like, good, good. So I had her. And then I went on, and when I moved to California, I fell into this woman who was Chetney, and she was a person who was really teaching in a gym, but then she was on her own journey, and she ended up into Kundalini yoga. So I got to practice Kundalini yoga. So it's just, it's just a series of fortunate events. And so I'm writing about how that journey for myself went. So I guess you'd call it a memoir. And it goes on and on and on until I hit Heartwood. So it's a story. And I'm a
Mm-hmm.
storyteller.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah.
So that memoir, it really started as that.
It started as that. I joined Jenny's class to work on that. And she said to me at that moment, well, we're already a yoga center. Why don't we write on something different? I don't know how she said it, but she suggested to me in a very nice way that I consider some other ideas. And I did have another idea because my memoir is not really a memoir. I was trying, and I am trying, to illustrate through my words and stories how it feels to be a Black person in a white world. And how, even though I may seem like I fit right in, there's something that is not the same. And so many people struggle with that. And I mean, struggle with it from both sides. I think my friends don't necessarily see me as Black, and I'm okay with that. But then when they ask me to do things that I'm uncomfortable doing, or if they say things that I'm uncomfortable hearing, then all of a sudden it's like, wait a minute, do you know who you're saying this to? How can you say something rude about a person who's of a different culture? Maybe they're not a Black person, but they're somebody who's not of your culture. That means behind my back, or that just says to me, you don't understand what it's like to be a person of minorities place in this country. And of course, we're talking once again, we're rewinding back to 70s, 80s, 90s, when so much of this happened to me. So that was my goal, through stories, to write how that felt. And of course, I think you sat in on some of the things I wrote about. I don't know what you heard or which ones you were
Yeah, I did.
listening
And
to.
I think it's a very powerful, important message, and I think it's on point. Yeah, it way too much of a jump for me to try to even consider writing any kind of memoir or anything close to it. I have to start with Bobbing and Jill and the white clouds and the
Yeah,
birds
well, that's all
birds
right.
popping around and
Yeah, yeah.
rainbows. So
Rainbows.
mine's very elementary. Honestly, what I like about it is this kind of no rules writing, and just exploring whatever comes out is
Hmm.
where I think it's a good place to start anyway. Because it's interesting what has came out. That I was a little bit shocked of some things that came out, but I'm seeing that it's a very good tool to use. What I'm noticing is I think of it's more of a therapeutic rather than a creative outlet
Yeah. And
for me.
and that can be wonderful. I mean, if it's helping the person. And that's why when I was first in some of the earlier workshops, I kind of started to feel a little bit out of place, because I thought, wow, I'm not trying to really have a type of poem that fits a category, or a type of, uh, you know, how many metaphors do you have here? I mean, even once I shared a poem in the writing group, and somebody told me my metaphors were off or something like that. I mean, and I was like, it wasn't Jenny.
Did they
So
really say that happened in one of my groups?
no, no, no. I'm talking about
Okay.
in the
I was
actual
gonna
memoir
say I'm gonna
writing
have
group.
to have
Yeah.
a conversation with our peeps
No,
if
no, 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 no,
they
no, 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 no.
did.
No, the only reaction I got was when I wrote the one poem I shared about, we were talking about something, and I ended up, and this did come out just like out of the blue, and it felt, I think, angry to the people listening, but it wasn't really anger. It was just the way I felt at that moment and what came out. And so I feel like that's how poetry is. I mean, sometimes it's just what comes out. And I
It
don't
is.
feel like a
It's
person should apologize for it, nor should a person apologize for prompting it, which is how I think the prompter felt. I said, don't
uh
apologize for prompting that. It's a prompt. That's what it is. And when you throw something out there, it's just like, I compare it to Shavasana. If if you don't be quiet during Shavasana, how am I going to come to terms with what's in here, right? And I think a lot
right.
of yoga instructors are afraid to shut it down.
Well, yeah, because people have a challenge with silence, but that
Yeah.
is where it's at. Silence is so loud. If
Mm-hmm.
you let it, it
Yeah.
has as much to say.
Yeah. And if you
Um,
throw out a prompt, be prepared
well,
to
all of
get what
this,
comes out from the prompt. I mean, I'm sorry.
yeah. Well, I think if you go to the workshops, that you're again, you're with like-minded people. Nobody there. Well, maybe they are afraid of, but it's not stopping them from dancing with their emotions.
Yes. But I
And
do
that's
feel
yeah.
like when you're in a minority person, I have different emotions. I mean, and
Mhm.
not that it's because I'm a minority. I mean, I think I can kind of express something that somebody else maybe doesn't see.
Well, and also, how could you not feel that way?
Yeah. And I mean, and so, there, the person I was would not have offered that. But now I do. I offer it. I say, well, um, the way I see it, you know, and especially now where we're looking at all the different things going on in the world, I mean, believe me, this is scarier for people of brown color. I mean, I don't
Mhm.
care what somebody else wants to argue about. I don't care what somebody says. I feel your pain and on and on. I'm sure there are so many people who are so supportive and so
Hmm.
hurt by it. But when you're a person of color, I mean, that is beyond, feeling
Oh, I
worried.
know it. It's true. And I'm like, I can't even imagine because well, I mean, other than being female, but I'm white and I'm very
Yeah. Well,
blessed
and
as well.
females
And
too.
I'm
I don't,
like,
I mean, females
I
as
can't
well
even
are under attack
imagine
or,
though.
hmm
But still, I couldn't imagine. I can't imagine.
hmm
And of the gay community as well. I
yes,
think it's much
absolutely.
scarier there as well. Um, yeah, and it's so important. It needs to be said right now.
hmm
Not
It
right
does.
now, for sure.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
because, this is the thing. When you shine like that, it gives other people a chance to
Yeah.
say yes and shine too. And
hmm
like, yes, this is how I feel. I love what
Yeah.
you write about. I love what you write about. And when you
Yeah.
get that book written, we can come on and talk about it again
I
too.
know. I mean, it's so much. It's so much to do. So much. It's hard. It's hard. And, and the editing is even harder. And it's just, I don't want to say I'm stuck, but boy, am I close to being stuck. And
You
I
want to
tend
take
to
it?
put diversions in my way, like,
Yeah.
oh, I think I'll go to yoga teacher training. But I mean, I've got sort of a commitment to balance it and I will continue. But if that book ever gets out into the real world, it won't be in the next few weeks.
Well, I think that this teacher training is just helping you formulate it all. A lot of
I
also
hope.
another thing I'm learning about this writing is a lot of it is listening and feeling and noticing, not even the
Mm-hmm.
writing. It's forming in there.
Mm-hmm.
And you got a lot to wrap up here into one bow and close it all up. There's lot under that,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
so this I think the philosophy again of yoga
Mm-hmm.
will
Yeah, I
help
think
round
that that
that
is so
out.
true. I mean, because I am rather, I don't want to call it scattered, but yeah.
Well, you want to have it. I mean, you want to have a message when it's done, and so it's not easy to take all of that
Yeah,
and
and that
have
is, you're so
pinpoint.
right. That is so true. It is tying the stories together and making the message understood without making people feel alienated or lectured to or any of the sort. You want it to feel not conversational, but like, here's a nice person telling me a story. I know, and then at the end of reading, you think, I never thought of it like that.
Right,
So I
right,
never
right.
thought of it like that. And then that would be the aha moment. And that's all I'm asking is to say, if I tell the story of, for example, in college, and this is a funny story. Um, I was in the journalism group, which whatever possessed me, but I didn't end up staying once again trying to write, but it's like, nah. So my friend and I, we joined the journalism club, and I was going to this community college, not a community college, a branch of the Ohio State University. And it's small college. So we had a journalism thing, and I was in it. And it was during the early 70s, back when the Vietnam War was still going on. And people were protesting. I mean, there were protests on the main campus. And so our little journalism group had written something. I didn't write it, someone wrote it, that had to do with the Vietnam War. And it was very anti-war and all that kind of stuff. And the advisor to the journalism group pulled it and wouldn't allow it to be printed. So we're in the little room and we're meeting, and it's like, how dare he? Blah 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 blah. And the editor, the lead guy, was very upset about it. And so he said, we're going to march up to the faculty and we're going to demand our rights. Okay. So we're marching, and I'm in the group with everyone else. I mean, there's probably 20 of us, and we're marching up, and we go up to the fourth floor where the faculty is. And the guy, leader, I assume, I don't know, I don't even know these people's names. One of them had a newspaper with him, and he lit it on fire and he threw it into the guy's office, right? And then the man came to the door and he says, "What is going on here? What is going?" And everyone ran. Guess who got called to the dean's office? Why did I get called to the dean's office?
Yeah,
My
right.
color.
Well, you know
Was
what?
that
a lot of
fair? I mean, and they call, and
No,
I told
no,
them, of course,
fair
it
doesn't
was
play
not
into
fair.
the equation.
And so when I got to the dean's office, I told him, I said, true enough, I did march up there with them, and I am on the journalism, uh, whatever team. But no, I didn't throw the newspaper. I didn't light it on fire. I had nothing. I had no knowledge that was going to happen. We were marching up, I thought, to talk to the guy and, make a point about why are you censoring our work, right?
Hmm, hmm,
And the
hmm.
dean was quite nice about it, and you know, knew that I was not the instigator, and but then kind of I was. There were like two or three officials from the college all in that room, and poor little me, and I'm like this 19-year-old freshman or whatever. Maybe I was a sophomore. Who knows? But anyhow, well, who was it? And I'm like, I don't know. Who was it? Trying to get me to, like, I felt like, dragnet. I'm in the
There it is.
interrogation
Right,
room,
right,
right?
right,
But
right.
anyhow, that's one of my stories. And
I
I
haven't
think
heard
that if I
Dragnet in
tell
a
that
long
story,
time.
people can see how being the only Black person in a place can really land you in hot water quickly without any intention of that happening. Especially if you're in, the only, in the title of the book, especially if you're the only one in the room. And that's what the title means, the only one in the room, me.
Mm,
And all the
mm.
different things that's caused, which were painful. I quit journalism after that. I mean, I was like done, you know, and that
Yeah.
probably flies right along with my little haiku. So I've had a lot of barriers to writing.
Well, there was this whole equal rights thing is pretty new in consideration, I mean, it
Yeah,
wasn't that long ago, so it's
yeah, and even with equal rights, it's not even about a law. It's about the reality of human beings seeing one person of color, knowing there's only one person of color in the college. How, I mean, it's just like that's the deal. That's bottom line. And that's the reality for Black people when they are in certain situations, you know.
mhm.
And there are all kinds of things. I mean, I've got hundreds of stories. And so I had been making, I took a writing workshop a long time ago where they said, when you're thinking about writing something, just write down little snippets of what the chapters would be. So one chapter might be college journalism problem, and just put that in a little place. And I told Jenny, I said, well, I have tons of little stories I've been trying to put together, and I'm thinking of writing. I didn't call it a memoir, but I mean, we were in a memoir class. Um, and she goes, "Yeah, why don't you start to work on those? That sounds really, really interesting and very timely," is what she said to me. And so that's what I did. And
I think it's great. I think what I've heard, I mean, not that I know professional writing, but I know how something makes me feel.
yeah, and that's the issue. And that's why I'm so excited for your next person who is, I think, from a publishing house or an editor or something of that
Hmm.
nature, because my stories need a thousand different things, I mean, to make them better. And I feel like sometimes a person gets to their own level of competency where maybe I can't fix this anymore. Maybe I need an editor. Maybe I need, and I saw her little edit thing about AI, which, is a whole nother issue over here. But it's something that, if you are a person with ideas, but not a person who feels that they're at the a good writer, like writing things, in a way that is logical and spelled correctly, punctuated right, no dangling participles and all that kind of stuff. That's a whole nother two parts of writing. One is having creative ideas that you're willing to write down, and another one is writing in a format that is understandable and readable. And
For
at
sure.
70, I don't feel like, and even somebody in the class said, well, maybe you should take a English 101 over. And I'm like, I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that.
No,
My
not
works
a
do not have time
chance.
for that bullshit.
No. No, no, I've seen a lot of poets, they don't even have periods and stuff like that. You could write it any way you want to.
I know. I know.
But yeah, that's coming up Monday. That
Yeah.
Monday at
Yeah.
6
Yeah,
p.m.
I'm
So,
really looking forward
yeah.
to that.
Well, Brooke Warner, she's up there.
Yeah.
She does a lot of great stuff, Um,
Yeah.
and yeah, she's worked even with Mark Nepo, poet Mark Nepo,
Oh my
which is
gosh, yeah, and he's a great. I mean, I have his book, and I know you did a lot with his work, last year.
yeah,
Yeah, it was so
yeah,
nice. Listen, I got to get going, but I want to share
yeah.
one more poem. The
Okay.
one that I'm going to share is the one I was telling you about, where it's got a bad word in it. Well, it's actually the whole poem is a bad word. It is. Hold on, let me see if I can find it. Hold on a minute.
Yeah, well, while you're looking for that, I just want to say thanks so much for coming on and thanks for being a part of this
Yeah,
summer
yeah.
series, the
Thank
summer
you,
love
thank
series.
you. Then you figured I didn't write this when I was 70, but I feel as a person who is 70, I'm going to be 73 actually. I have a right to write this. And it's called Time's a Bitch. Is time moving faster? Slow down. I have a lot to do. I have so many places to go. My reading is behind, as is my shopping. Time's a bitch. I have so many things to try. How about water aerobics, tennis, biking along the Pacific, hiking the Pacific Coast Trail? Slow down. I need time. Is this about age or the age we live in? Time's a bitch. Look at my face. Are those lines from your rough passage? How about my youth? Did it run off with you? Slow down. I'm right behind. I need time. Time's a bitch. And you're also a thief. You've stolen from me my energy, my health, opportunities. What is your problem? Why the hurry, time? Slow down so I can enjoy you more. Time's a bitch. Be aware, guard your dreams. Time can derail them if you're not vigilant and prepared. Go now, be present, make memories, hug your loved ones, because time's a bitch and then you die.
Mm.
True?
Well, it is. It is that's that whole relationship with time.
So
Uh
anyway, yep.
yeah. Um any final words after that? I don't think there is any. That's
Oh,
about it.
yeah. Yeah, that can kind of sum it up. I think to sum it up is just exactly what I said in the poem. You got to get out there, do what you want to do. It doesn't matter what it is. I mean, it's more about just realize that your time is ticking. And if you're not happy right now, you need to figure out a way to become happy, because you don't want to not make it to happiness. And I have some friends my age who aren't really happy, and I feel kind of,
Oh, there's a lot of miserable elder people.
yeah. I mean, but you have to say, well, how'd you get that way? I mean, I know a lot of
No,
people have had a lot of bad things happen. I mean, I'm not
like
trying to
it's
be
hard.
insensitive, but
It's
on the other
hard.
hand, it's not really good to
It's a
hold.
choice.
Yeah.
It is a choice.
Hmm.
It is a choice.
Yeah.
And it's not an easy practice, but it's a practice. And all
Hmm.
we got to do is keep stepping in that direction because it's about our quality of life too.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. And you never
So,
know, whatever in the old, I mean, I feel like if you're healthy now and you have opportunities and options, please take them.
I see, yeah, I see how though, and yeah, I know we gotta go, but like, I mean, life, there's a lot of heartache, there's a lot of stuff. The more you go along, the more you get of it, the more heartache, the more this, the more that. And I see how and there's enough to piss you off in any given 5 minutes anymore.
True. Yeah.
Um, but it comes down to our choice, our
Yeah.
choice. We have to choose to be. I think Jim Rohn said, motivational speaker said, uh, or it might have been Zig Ziglar back in the day. I decided a long time ago that I was going to have a good day today.
Yeah. Yeah. That's right.
And, or if you don't think it's a good day, try not having one of them.
I try not to have one. Yes. Thank you so
Uh,
much.
oh, my love. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for everything, for your support, for this conversation, and for your words,
Mhm.
for sharing,
Yeah.
for
Thank
sharing.
you. Thank you for
All
giving me
right.
the
In deep
opportunity.
gratitude. Namaste, everyone.
Namaste.
Namaste.